I spent the morning at Drury Tea and Coffee HQ, and I'm going to show you around their facility. First off, I had a candid chat with MD Marco and Head of Coffee Quality Julian, and then they showed me around their facilities. Let's take a look.
The sustainability right the way through the supply chain needs to be not addressed is too strong a word for it, but it's something we need to maintain. And it's right from, we need to make sure more money goes back to the growers. And the farmers. So most importantly, they get a decent standard of living. But it also allows them to invest. If they need to move farms, or grow at different altitudes because of global warming, combating global, climate change and global warming takes money. And it's got
going further up in terms of altitude for finding and supplying Arabica particularly, which makes sense. Is there also kind of more of an issue with coffee rust and things like that as well? Absolutely. I was very lucky enough to go to Costa Rica at the beginning of this year, in January. It was a holiday, but I made it a working holiday and managed to stay on a coffee farm for a few days, which was lovely. Right. And very, very cold at night. It was quite hard. It was something like 30 degrees during the day and 2 degrees at night, which was interesting. But talking to them, there's a lot of challenges. Costa Rica's got a very, very, very good coffee industry, and relatively speaking, it's an affluent country, high standard of living, etc. But they're facing challenges, both with diseases, coffee rust, etc. And just maintaining quality, etc. It's tricky. It's tricky
and
for them.
People that want to work in the coffee industry, I suppose, right? Like they don't have that, like pickers. Yeah. They have to come from different countries.
They get a lot from Panama. A lot from Panama.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We I was talking. I also went to a cooperative in Santa Maria de Dota where we were staying, and I was talking to the guy who ran that, and he was just saying, a lot of imported labour there because they're paying the salaries that the guys need, and but the coffee farm we're staying on, they had some workers that lived on the farm. There's a coffee and avocado farm, and I went wandering off and got overexcited. My wife I was like a puppy. My wife had to restrain me, dancing around the coffee trees, and the facilities there were excellent. I didn't go inside them, but brief sort of chat with my very, very limited Spanish with the people there. It wasn't great. It was all a bit of English, bit of Spanish, this and the other. The facilities there were great. But we need more of that. We need more money going through the system, and that might mean all of us paying more for our coffee. And we have to accept that.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because is it, if you could choose, and it's everyone wants to maintain their margins and everyone wants to hold on to what they've been being paid forever. Yeah. Is it the end consumer needs to pay more, or is there we've talked about cafes, but is there any other parts of the supply chain that maybe are taking a bit more than their fair share? And that's not trying to be controversial, but no. Is there somewhere that you think actually there's a bit of fat in this? Maybe this is where we could, if there had to be something that had to give to make the whole supply chain more sustainable overall? Is it the end consumer? Is it the cafes taking too much of a slice? Is it green buyers? Is it importers?
I don't. Roasters Union. I don't think. I know from our point of view, we don't. There's not a lot of fat there at all, no. Because it's a competitive marketplace, and so you can't
at scale, so your margins can't be that.
No, you can't. And there's a lot of we're a medium-sized roaster. There's a lot that are much bigger than us. A lot that are much smaller than us, and we all charge near enough the same prices, which tells you we're getting. It depends on the quality, of course. But we're all making the same sort of margins. Which shows you that that's probably correct. I think it's there's percentage profit, percentage of margin, and then there's cash margin.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the cafes, they need to maintain their cash margin and increase it to pay for the labour cost of producing
of course.
coffee, because that's probably the highest cost.
Yeah.
Also rents, rates, etc. They're certainly in London, which is mainly our market. They're very high. So of course they've got to make that, and they need to make money, profit. That's what they're there for. But that doesn't mean they need to make the same percentage profit. So, for instance, the industry is we're all facing price increases as raw coffee goes up and up and up, and it's never-ending rise at the moment. And so we're thinking around about a 7% increase. It's going to penny a cup, penny a shot rather, not a cup, penny a shot. So for a double shot, it's 2p.
Yeah.
Generally. Now,
on a £3.50 or £4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for the coffee shop owner, yes, they should increase their prices, faced with that. And they should increase their prices more than 2p because they're facing the minimum wage rise.
Yeah.
A lot of them be paying more than that to get decent workers and baristas, etc. National insurance contributions going up. Everything's going up in price.
Yeah.
So of course they need to maintain their margin, but it doesn't need a 50p rise.
Sure.
But the consumers have to, at the end of the chain, have to accept that if we want a coffee industry right the way through, these things need to go up a little bit,
that makes sense.
And hopefully they carry on buying just as many coffees as they always did. I mean, if it means skipping one a week, then skip one a week.
To make one at home.
Exactly.
You sell whole beans as well. So.
Absolutely. We've got at the moment. Well, we're so busy at the moment. I was actually packing retail orders yesterday, so MD was back on the floor. Julian was helping out in he was helping out in the commercial packing side, and I was doing the retail orders. So it was mad at the moment. So we got a very healthy retail business.
Yeah,
so.
Which is good.
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
So there we go.
Going back to the value thing.
Yeah,
I think that if you look at the coffee industry as a whole. Most of the value stays in what they call the global north, right? Because if you think about, like me, for example, I get a good salary, right? Working in coffee. Someone that produces a coffee in Ethiopia is the same coffee professional as me because he works in coffee. But his salary probably is much, much, much lower, right?
Of course,
And then probably all the value stays where the coffee is roasted, served, and
absolutely
right.
It's like a long tail. Like you've got a huge, not bubble, but like increase in cost and prices and value and everything. Well, value is maybe not the right word to use actually, but like all of the cost, the salary, etc., is all
rents
ended like loaded at the back end of the curve.
But very much.
But actually, the value of what's being produced is at source ultimately. So it's how can you raise that long tail?
James Hoffman made this video about the most expensive espresso in London is something.
I saw that.
And it's 140 or something pounds for an espresso, and it's just because it's produced in Japan. And Japanese farmers need to. They are expensive, right?
Get paid a lot more than
so and that's the only reason why. So maybe in the future, coffee will be like. It will be a luxury thing, right?
Maybe it's not that much of a luxury, but
maybe £10 will be enough.
But it's but I mean, it will happen one day. Obviously, it will do.
And the other thing that is good as well is that there are companies in consuming countries that are doing a good job as well, right? Taking care of the employees, paying good wages, and that is also a good positive thing, and it costs money as well, right?
Yeah,
but I think that it should be like that everywhere in the world, in the north and the south, right?
And I wonder whether, we're talking about from a consumer point of view, I think about the cost of a pint in London, for example, and you're buying, all buying drinks, what have you, for Christmas and the rest of it. You go to the supermarket, you might be paying £2 or £3 for a bottle of beer or something like 12 pack or 10 pack, whatever it is.
Yeah,
but then you might pay £7 or £8 for a pint in the pub.
Yeah.
And ultimately it's the same product.
Yeah.
But there's no different. There's no one, someone's making it for you, but the level of skill that's required to make a nice flat white in a coffee shop versus pulling a pint is very different. But
very much so.
The level of cost increase. So maybe from an end consumer point of view, we need to think of having a really nice flat white in a expensive coffee shop in London, more like going out for a beer or a nice glass of wine or a cocktail or something that's a bit more.
But I think even more than that, I think it's almost like going out for a meal because the creativity that goes into it, the skills that go into it.
Yeah. Whereas we think of it, we don't. I don't. A lot of people don't necessarily think of the difference between a nice flat white latte, whatever it is, after you've had a nice brunch in Battersea Park or have you. Yeah. They don't necessarily differentiate that between their Nespresso pod at home. Because it's a cup of coffee at the end of the day. They don't necessarily think of it in that way, which maybe that's a shift that needs to be made.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, look, I mean, let's face it. I mean, I think from that point of view, the industry is fairly healthy. We're seeing. I mean, we've had the best lead up to Christmas I think we've ever had. And we've just, October, November were record months for us. December's looking very healthy as well. So there's a lot of people out there drinking coffee, which is very good. And so there's certainly demand for a well-made product. It's, I can't see that declining particularly anytime soon. So that side of thing is good. It's just, if you're paying a little bit more for it, maybe it's worth it, and I think just to make sure, that those small increments down the chain mean we can get more money back to the farmers, and I may look at coffee prices and think, Colombian £7,000 a tonne, but it's not a bad thing. Yeah. At the end of the day, it's not a bad thing. Yeah. If those Colombian farmers are paying more wages to their workers and they're earning a decent living, exactly. We can all moan about pricing going up, but it's a fair division. I mean, that's true. I think just generally with all sort of farmed products. I mean, we look at milk producers and making sure they're getting it. It's one of those things.
It's a problem from an economic point of view. If things are going the other way, if things start to really spiral downwards, and no one can get paid anymore, that's when you've really got problems to think about. Deflation, that sort of thing. We've seen inflation's going crazy at the moment. We know that, but actually, if it's being passed on, particularly to, like you say, these kind of Southern Hemisphere countries, etc., the producers. Exactly. Maybe that's not such a bad thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely, definitely.
I mean, there was a time where the sea market was really low, right? I think in the 90s or something.
Yeah, very much.
And people stopped producing coffee because it wouldn't make any sense to produce coffee.
Absolutely.
Because you've got a fixed cost of production which needs to be covered, and at the end of the day, if the price isn't covering that, you're just not going to produce. No, there's no incentive.
No, exactly.
They're a business just like anyone else.
Exactly that. Why should they do it? I mean, and
the whole thing really does grind to a halt.
Yeah, and that's part of the issues. I mean, it's not a low price, but it's a volatility of pricing that's affected Vietnam quite a bit. Okay. Because of the extreme volatility, quite a few coffee farmers have switched to different crops, mainly durian fruit, because they've got a massive market for that on their doorstep. Relatively on their doorstep in China. Yeah. It's much more stable market, much more lucrative, better margins, etc. And then that causes issues, and also, in the Americas, you can have problems with illicit crops because they're more lucrative. And so,
like in Bolivia with coca, it's much easier to plant coca and you get more money.
It's really, really important that money continues to flow through the system, and we just accept that's what it is.
Yeah, and it's interesting you said about cocoa, and you said earlier about certain farmers producing coffee and avocados, for example. So, is without getting too technical into sort of price elasticity and all these different things, does the demand for one complement the other? Does it? Because is that quite common that you'd see a coffee farmer producing other crops as well?
Yeah, very well. To produce good quality coffee, you need shade trees. Yes. Okay, so what you don't want is just line after line of coffee trees. You want shade. So intercropping makes sense. Makes sense for to produce quality coffee. Yeah. And as I said, my very limited experience, but when I went over to Costa Rica, and I was just, it was really, really interesting to see that actually happening. and working well. And the coffees I had over there were some of the best I've ever had.
Yeah.
Just superb quality. So yes, I know that is, and also there's a bit of resilience built into the system then as well. That bit of diversification means if you've got an issue with coffee rust,
from a business
point of view, you might lose 20% of your trees, and but all my avocado trees are fine. And vice versa.
Because this is getting a little bit more technical into sort of the grow conditions of coffee and shade grown coffee, which obviously, like you say, is very popular and is a necessity in. So it essentially slows the growing process, or slows the of the Arabica beans. Like, how does that exactly work?
I think Arabica likes to grow in shade, because in Ethiopia, the Ethiopian forest where it appeared, it used to have like a lot of canopy, and it likes to have shade and sun, right? So it makes the maturing of the fruits a bit slower. And it maintains like an environment that is safer against diseases, right? Like against the leaf rust and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And I think in India they are really good with intercropping. They do a lot of chilies and avocados and stuff like that.
Another thing.
Bananas.
And like, again, something that probably, end consumer wouldn't. I always thought, does the type of crop that you are intercropping the coffee
give flavor?
Does it give flavor? If you grow it next to bananas, does it taste like bananas? Or this sort of
I don't think so. That would be too easy, right?
Avocado tasting coffee.
We don't know that.
Is there any impact, or is it simply?
I think
just whatever is growing in that region is what they're going to naturally intercrop with.
Sorry, Karen.
No, sorry. No, I think it's like it helps with growing the plant. Like if you plant like I think peanuts, it leaves a lot of nitrogen in the soil. I think people know how to balance different plants to avoid diseases, avoid bugs and stuff like that, right? It's mostly about that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's what grows well, what they can process. What they can sell. What the market's like. Whether it's a local market or an international market. There's lots of different factors there.
Sure.
But it's and sometimes they're not necessarily crop trees. They're just shade trees. It's primary. I mean, going back to this Costa Rican place, where we were staying, also had some primary rainforest there still, so some of that encroached on the coffee plantation. Well, vice versa, really, and provided shade, etc.
And that's there to begin with.
Exactly, and there was no value as such, except that it made the coffee better quality.
Sure.
So
that's interesting.
Yes, it was good. Good
stuff.
So,
should we have a look around?
Have a look around. Let's go and do it. Let's go and have a look at the.
So we load up all our raw coffees in there, and at the moment it's working flat out. So wish it was every day, but we got capacity with this normal shift patterns, which are 7:30 till 4. Capacity of about 2,000 tons a year, something like that. So 200 million cups of coffee. So. If only we were selling that amount, but there we go. We're about 30% capacity. So we moved from our old factory. We're about 90% capacity with our old roaster. So we wanted to build in a lot of future proofing. We tend to think generationally as a company because this is family business. I'm third generation. One of my sons is in the business. You tend to think, will this last him for 10 years of his career and this, that, and the other? So,
you've got a longer time horizon rather than thinking a couple of years in the future.
The setup is very effective because we produce a lot of coffee, right? But not many people work in the roaster. It's like very streamlined.
We've got four people working,
and they produce so many tons of coffee a year. That is very effective. That is
very effective.
It's a good design, right? It's a good layout, and they can produce a lot of product really quick, right? That is the destoner there. It's cleaning the coffee from any foreign matter, like stones or sticks or whatever that is left after roasting.
And then we can hear again.
And then we can hear. And it's very noisy. That's the only thing with the factory, it's very noisy.
It is.
And the roaster is sitting up, like the person roasting is sitting up there with screens.
Took us 6 months to put all this in.
Yeah.
And we had to put an entire new electrical and gas supply in for it. But this is more of a warehouse beforehand. So we've got complete production here. So from the roaster, we go up through the stoner into this pipe here, into this hopper. From there, up the bucket elevator to these two big hoppers there, which then feed the bean packing machines down below. Fully automated. So basically from pressing the button over there to start a roast going, to getting it packed. So in terms of labour input, Eric presses the buttons. I mean, he does more than that. A lot more than that.
Yeah.
But he presses a button to start a roast going. We get 250 kilos out, and that's packed all within about 40 minutes.
Wow. Okay.
And with one operative packing, the bags come off into a box, and it's all done. So in terms of throughput, we can effectively double our throughput here with maybe one more member of staff. So we've got a lot of capacity. It's all working very well indeed, and it's incredibly consistent. We in terms of sort of the thermal insulation of this facility, it's cutting edge. In terms of emissions, the local council were very concerned when we moved in. We had lots of we had to get airflow models done, which luckily we managed to do from because we were only about 700 meters from City Airport. So they had all the data we needed, which we had to purchase.
The afterburner as well. Like,
We got an afterburner that burns absolutely everything. We had to do emissions tests on the afterburner about particulates coming out. Everything passed with flying colours.
CO2 produced when you're producing coffee, and depending on the roast level. But even so, is that essentially what you have to be?
We'll just make sure that all the emissions are well within, acceptable tolerances, and we're well and truly within it. So, they're very, very happy in the end.
So those guys happy.
Yeah, exactly. They were a little bit concerned about the smell, which I thought was a bit unfair, as our nearest competing large smell producer is the Thamesmead Sewage Works. And so I think you should be welcoming us with open arms, with a lovely roasting coffee smell. Exactly. Absolutely. So so that's out there. So
the way it works, it has a fan, and it sucks the heat from the beans when they come out from the roaster.
Okay.
So it's cooling the beans so they can cool down really quickly and stop cooking, right?
Okay.
So you need a massive fan, and you can see it there.
Yeah, you don't see our
On top.
electricity bill or our gas bill. Both horrendous. But,
Imagine.
And the green coffee is sent from the silo to the hopper here.
Yeah.
And when you start roasting, the coffee would go from the hopper to the drum that is there. And when it's done, it would fall into the cooling tray.
Okay.
And you see that screen there? Arek can manage the machine from that screen as well.
Duplicate screen.
Okay. And then you've got like a little sampling tray there that comes back.
But that's for the destoner. That's just to make sure that any foreign particles, particularly in some of the robustas, you get a few bits of stone because the way it's produced and dried on patios. So that just removes that, so they don't go through people's grinders.
Okay.
So
those stones can destroy a grinder.
Yeah.
Very lucky. I mean, the quality of coffee we buy means there's very, very few.
Yeah.
But one is too many. So it's.
And then Arek takes a sample of each batch, so we can keep the. I don't know for how long do we keep each sample for.
We keep it to 1.5 times shelf life.
Okay, so for long.
So about 14 months.
14 months, right? So
Like
we can always go back and check if there are any issues or whatever, right? So it's good.
Cool. Oh, amazing. Yeah.
So we got a machine for filter coffee, pre-ground filter coffee sachets, decaf, individual pre-ground decaf sachets.
Yeah.
Very popular product. Our new Nespresso compatible capsule machine, and 2 1 kilo bean packers over there as well. So, which are the ones fed from above.
Yeah.
So, and then we've got a retail station over the back there, which we can't see from here, where we produce all. So everybody who orders coffee via our retail site, we pack and grind every single order to order.
Yeah.
So nothing's pre-ground if they're ordering filter or cafetiere coffee.
Yeah.
With the orders come in, they're flying at the moment, and so they come in, we'll produce everything to order. Range of about 40 different coffees, blends and originals. They're all packed up and then dispatched same day to customers. They get very, very, very fresh coffee.
Yeah.
So not something that's been pre-ground for months and sat on the supermarket shelf. And this is something we've done for a long time. It's very, very popular for really, really busy coffee shops. We sell coffee back to them in sacks.
Right. Okay.
So it's a 12 kilo bag of coffee. There's all the Hessian's recyclable. There's one plastic bag which isn't. We're going to move to recyclable plastic on that eventually. But basically we're cutting out all the packaging we use, although we've now switched to recyclable packaging on the kilo bags. And they get it, 20% discount because we've taken out all that packaging, all the energy used on the machines to pack it, the labour costs, etc. So they get it. The coffee shops get it with a 20% discount, but they do need to use it quickly because of the limited shelf life. So we're roasting, packing, and it's out the door. Normally something like 48 hours, sometimes 72 hours, something like that. They then need to use that coffee.
I was going to say
in a week.
Yeah, and it's had time to degas, so it's ready to be used immediately.
Exactly.
But it needs to go.
You don't want it sitting there for a month. Yeah.
You're not putting a double seal on it or anything like that. It's just
exactly.
ready to go.
Yeah. But incredibly popular. Really, really popular.
It's mostly for people, for places that are really busy. So
really
they
busy.
They use it like.
I mean, we've got some customers are taking 7 or 8 of those a week, which is that's serious.
Yeah.
We're so busy, but this is where we prepare orders ready to go out. These are all
a little bit quieter over here.
A little bit quieter, not so noisy.
It makes
but these are all mail orders ready to go. Or about to be prepared. So an order comes in. This is what I was doing yesterday. An order comes in, we prepare it. So we coffee's packed first. If we got coffee, if it's tea, we do stop picking out the shelves here, and then it's packed up, sent out, and there's about 50, 60 orders a day at the moment on those. So really going
busy time of year.
Busy time of year.
Yeah.
This is our tea department here. So.
Smell the difference already from
straight away.
You would, but actually you can smell
which is why we keep them in separate units.
Yeah.
We've got that separation there. So come through here. This is where we store the tea, and it's we've got sort of finished stocks down below. So leaf tea. We do about 110 leaf teas. We produce our own pyramid tea bags here. We've got 2 machines. And we've got about 35 different varieties of pyramids that we produce. But then up above, we have the sort of raw materials, as it were. So all the various teas from around the world, various ingredients as well, and also some herbal things, but some Malawian tea up there. So there'll be plenty of Indian tea, Sri Lankan teas, etc. And we use those to create our blends, which we then pack either into pyramid tea bags or as loose leaf. We do a small range of traditional tea bags. We've just switched to biodegradable material on that as well. So no more paper tea bags at all. Which is good. That's just happened, and all very good. Then through here we've got storage. So we can't produce the stuff fast enough at the moment, I don't think. So quite low, but coffee's down there, and then our machines. The machines.
These arrived.
Yeah, there we go.
Right. Oh, nice. Brand new, right?
Brand new. They've just arrived. So that's 3 Invictus. That's for one of our coffee shop customers. They've ordered 3 in a custom yellow colour, evidently.
nice.
So I'm looking forward to seeing those when they're unpacked.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
So we've been partners of Rancilio since 1990. We used to be sole importers, but the focus of the business has moved away from just shifting machinery to using machinery to get coffee business.
Yes.
So we're no longer the sole importers, which is fine. I'm much happier about that. But, it takes the pressure off. Yeah. Are you going to sell 1,000 machines this year? No, I'm not. But we're still, we've got a very long history with Rancilio, 34 years, and we work very, very closely with them. So we carry a lot of spares here. A lot of second-hand equipment.
Yeah, look at the amount of machines.
A lot of which needs to be refurbished. A lot of which needs to be thrown away. We tend to keep things for cannibalization for spares, etc. We do recycle as much as we can.
Yeah.
But with equipment, we do. So part of our business model for on the commercial side for restaurants and for coffee shops is we'll rent equipment. So a coffee shop will rent a commercial machine like this. We provide the grinder, the machine, the water filter, knockout box, installation, full training, which is Julian's division. Everything that goes with it. We've got our own engineering force here, so we directly employ engineers. We've got 7 engineers. And they pay a fixed monthly fee for that. Normally around about £180 a month, which is very reasonable.
Yes,
and that includes all service.
Yeah.
And so they've
Peace
never
of mind as well. You're
Well,
buying, you know.
exactly. We've got very, very good response times. It's nearly always same day if it's a complete breakdown. They know, look, we sell the first 3 coffees of the day, and that's the machine paid for.
Yes.
Everything after that, there's no scary service bills. Yeah, if we can't fix the machine for whatever reason, we'll come in with a replacement machine the next day, or quite often that same day, and they're up and running again. And it is exactly that peace of mind. It's an insurance policy. Yes, long term you'll be paying more, but then you haven't got a £500 service bill every day, every year or whatever. So
or to employ someone in house to do do
it's impossible. Exactly. So
a bit of a waste, really.
that so that's so we've built a real model of that, and it's I don't know how many rental machines we've got out there, something like 300 or so across London. But it works very, very well indeed. So we'll take you up to the training room.
Let's do it.
Julian.
We started with SCA trainings now. So we got these are the materials we use for the SCA trainings. The new CVA forms and everything. And then these are the machines we mostly use for our customers. Because like Marco said, we provide free training for customers that use our coffee to make sure that they are serving the correct profile, right?
Absolutely.
And we do our quality control cappings as well here. We have to do something with this table.
That was slightly homemade. Exactly. Yeah, I think we might need to improve it slightly.
The base is good.
Yeah, it's the top we've got to sort out.
Like we have to.
We need to put something over the top because it gets mucky.
Yeah. It's the wrong colour. It needs to be brown.
Exactly that.
Exactly.
But,
the SCA trainings are going good. So we are getting more and more students.
Yeah.
We run everything except brewing because I don't have the license for brewing yet, but in the future.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And it's nice to have people here to just come and learn things, right?
Very much so.
More popular even for home.
Totally.
And we started that with We Can Do now.
Yeah.
We have a session for home users.
Yes.
People that don't work in coffee or have nothing to do with coffee.
Yeah.
And they can come here to either taste coffee or learn how to use a home barista machine.
So
that's going to be interesting as well.
That's going to be very good. That's going to be very good indeed. Looking forward to doing some more of those. So, but that's all part of the package. So so we've got the equipment, the engineering support, the coffee and the tea, obviously, but also the training, and that works for everybody because we train to a very high standard. The team, a fantastic team underneath Julian, and they make sure that commercially, our customers sell as many coffees as possible, which
Yeah.
is great for them and great for us.
Exactly.
So, and that's why I never look at it as a cost.
Yeah.
It is just it's a force multiplier when it comes to we're serving good coffee. If we can teach people to make that coffee really well,
Yeah.
they're going to succeed.
win-win for everyone.
Exactly, they're going to succeed, and therefore it's great. It really does work very well indeed. And the feedback we get on this training is
it's good.
Top.
The trainers we have are really good.
yeah.
They complain a little bit because we didn't mention them in the podcast. But yeah, they are Razvan, Razvan, Antonius, and Stacy.
Yes.
They are like
Yes.
they know what they are doing.
They do.
Yeah.
They are
They
really
do.
good with people. That's also important, right? To make people feel
Of course,
comfortable.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people that come here, they just open a coffee shop and they never work in coffee, so it can be a bit intimidating.
I think there's a lot of people that kind of expect it to be a nice lifestyle. You know, I like going to coffee shops and having coffee.
yeah, but it's-
opening a coffee shop would be nice and easy.
It's not. It's not.
no, not at all.
Not the case.
Not at all.
So
Not
the
at all.
training has to be like very friendly as well.
Yes.
So people don't get scared or
Yeah.
worried or like,
Yeah, no, I think it's very that accessibility to it is so important. You know, and it's something. It is intimidating, and if you're going into something you don't know much about, and then also we're getting a lot of people that come along that maybe are young. English may well be their second language
Yes.
as well. In this industry, and we therefore need to be make sure that they are completely comfortable. And they're not worried about anything because it's that's going to distract them. And I think we've got a really good balance with the guys. They are people, and they set people at ease, and it's relaxed. We have a laugh and this and the other. But there's serious learning to be done. And once everybody's relaxed, we really get onto that serious learning, and it works. It works very well indeed. So, and I think we've got a session this afternoon. Haven't we? I think,
at 1. Yeah.
1 o'clock. We've got somebody coming in.
And now we offer a certificate as well, and people love certificates.
Give you a bit of paper to say I've passed something.
I've done these before, and the certificate makes me I've actually achieved something.
Exactly.
Learned something. I'm not a novice anymore.
Exactly.
And of course, for the SEA trainings, we always give certificates
Yes.
if they
Yeah.
pass they pass the exams.
So for your own as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So.
I'd just like to thank Marco and Julian so much for showing me around the facility. It was amazing to see how the coffee process goes from start to finish and how Drury Tea Coffee is still such a thriving business to this day. As ever, if you like this episode, make sure to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.